Hello, I'm Raj Chengappa of India Today and your host for Nothing But the Truth. In this episode, we will focus on the frozen turbulence that has led to a tragic divide in Manipur, India's sensitive northern state. And to discuss this, I have with me my colleague Kaushik Deka, Managing Editor of India Today and a top expert on Northeast. He has just done a huge cover story, a very in-depth one on Manipur. But before I get to Kaushik and the details that we would get, the insights we would get from his ground report, let me just give you a bit of background on this. The irony is that the Modi government had always claimed credit for giving India's northeastern states unprecedented connectivity and infrastructure to bring economic prosperity. Which is why one of the great puzzles is why has the ruling dispensation allowed Manipur to slip into a 2.5 years of ethnic strife with no meaningful political resolution in sight. The result is that Manipur today sits in a fragile limbo, suspended between uneasy calm and unresolved grief. What was once a multi-ethnic mosaic is now tragically split into two. On the one side stand the Meiteis, who account for 53% of the 3.22 million population of Manipur, 3.22 million. Historically, the Meiteis live only in just 9% of the total land, mainly in the Imphal Valley. So absorb that. Meiteis constitute 53% of the population of Manipur, but occupy only 9%, and that's largely in the Imphal Valley. Now, on the other hand, the Kuki Zo tribes, who have roughly around 16% of the population, are scattered across the sparsely populated forested hills that cover close to 28% of the state. Now, another example that we could give you to give you an idea of how stark the asymmetry is, if you take a look at the population density of these two ethnic groups. In the Meitei areas, it is 870 people per square kilometers. Whereas in Kuki Zo areas, the population density is 60 per square kilometers in the Kuki Zo area. So you can see the difference is enormous. 12 times more dense is where the Meiteis live, and the Kukis are sparsely populated, as mentioned earlier. But Kuki Zo tribes have their own grouses against the Meiteis. Given the size of their population, Meiteis dominate politics with 40 of the 60 assembly seats, and thereby the Meiteis have a decisive say when it comes to political power. The Kukis have always felt legislatively marginalized. Now, in recent times, the Meiteis have sought more land in other areas of the state rather than be confined to Imphal, given the fact that they are 53% of the population and so densely packed. But because the hill districts where the Kuki Zo reside are reserved by law for scheduled tribes, they cannot buy land in these areas. Meiteis have over the years demanded that the law be modified to allow them access to the hill zones. They regard it as a battle for access, opportunity, and the settlement of a historical grievance. On their part, the Kukis fear land domination by the Meiteis, apart from political domination that I mentioned earlier. They regard Meiteis' demands as an existential threat to their land and identity. Now, this imbalance of land, political power, and identity is the fault line along which Manipur broke. Things came to a head when in May 2023, the Manipur High Court asked the state government to consider granting scheduled tribe status to the Meiteis. This would have allowed the Meiteis to settle down in the surrounding hills where the Kuki Zo tribes had lived or live. For the Kuki Zo, this was a huge setback as they now feared land domination by the Meitei. Meanwhile, the then Chief Minister Biren Singh, who is a Meitei, launched a crackdown against illegal immigration, poppy cultivation, and drug trafficking, mainly in the Kuki Zo areas. Now, the Kukis saw this as one more example of extreme state bias and rebelled. And unfortunately, the violence that exploded soon after that took an extreme toll. 258 people have died so far, 62,000 displaced, 4,786 homes have been burnt down, and 6,000 weapons looted by militant groups from both sides. Now, it is only after the center deployed over 80,000 security personnel was an uneasy peace imposed. Today, Manipur is divided by a militarized no man's land. Meitei and Kuki areas are separated by security checkpoints, buffer zones, and the hardening of social, economic, and administrative boundaries. The consequences are tragic. Apart from the political instability, there is economic collapse and a really deep social divide. So let us now look at the ground situation in Manipur and what needs to be done to resolve this protracted conflict. And here I'd like to bring Kaushik Dekar back into the conversation. Kaushik, you have just done a major cover story for India Today magazine on the tragedy and the divide that has befallen Manipur. What is, if you take a look at the stark fact of your article, is the physical divide that you talked about. So let's just get into what you really saw when you went there on the ground. How can you describe this physical divide and what does it look like when you're there?
I'll give a small example. Suppose we had to travel from Imphal to Churachandpur, 2 hours apart. Imphal is the capital and Meitei heartland, you can say. Churachandpur is Kuki community heartland. And that 2 hours, we should have completed it in flat 2 hours, but it took more because we were stopped at 7 points. 7 different security forces checked us, our identity. Because in Manipur, if you are a Meitei, you cannot get out of Imphal Valley taking that NH2, which is the lifeline of Manipur, to a Kuki area. Similarly, if you look at the Kuki population from Churachandpur, say for instance, or from Chengappa, if they have to travel out of Manipur to another place in India, they may take a flight. So they cannot come to Imphal airport because the same situation will happen.
And Imphal airport is how far from Churachandpur?
Just 2 hours away.
2 hours, okay.
2 hours away. So they have to go to Aizawl, the nearest airport, to Mizoram, or they may some people may go to Assam. The roads are not at all good. So the lifeline of Manipur, NH2, is in a way broken. That's what we have said, that part of NH2 only the Meiteis can access, which runs through the Imphal Valley, and if they have to get out of Manipur by road, they cannot take NH2. Similarly, Kukis cannot take, say for instance, Kukis in Churachandpur, which is on the other side of Imphal, and then on the northern side is Chengappa. So in between lies the Imphal Valley. So they cannot, from one Kuki person, if he has to go to, from Churachandpur, if he has to go to Chengappa, they have to take a very longer route.
Circuitous route.
So this is India, this is within a state. It's very much like India and Pakistan, that you need to prove your identity, ethnicity, everything.
Incredible.
To cross from one part to the other. And we keep talking about one India, one constitution, and here within a state, it's very surprising, you cannot move freely.
Now, if you take a look at the administration itself, again, has this been divided among ethnic lines?
Yes, that's what I wondered. Means when I spoke to them, the police forces, before people understand this, that Manipur at the moment is divided on ethnic lines between Kuki areas and Meitei areas. So all Meiteis from everywhere, they are settling in either in relief camp or they have moved to some areas in Imphal Valley, and Kuki people have gone back to their Kuki areas. So a Kuki cannot live in Meitei areas, Meitei cannot live in Kuki areas. So obviously there were Meitei policemen in Kuki areas, Kuki policemen in Meitei areas. So they have also been transferred, all the administrative positions have been transferred on ethnic lines so that there is no fear. I met one very strange incident. I met one police person who is a Kuki police person, and he stood with me, and his house was just some 100 meters, not even 100 meters, less than 100 meters away from him, but in a buffer zone. So he was standing next to me. He showed me his house burned down totally, but he cannot access that because it's in buffer zone. I could walk down to that because I am neither a Meitei nor a Kuki, but he couldn't go that. And similarly, I saw the same situation with a Meitei person near the buffer zone. He can show me the house, but he cannot access his house. So this is the tragedy.
Almost like a hard line, a partition line between the two.
Yes, it is like a border between two independent countries.
Incredible. And I think one of the things you talked about in your piece was the displaced people. There's something like 58,000 of them
Yeah.
that live in no man's land. They have fled from their homes
Yeah.
and are in relief camps. And both Meiteis and Kukis suffered. Just give us a bit about that, the camp and the camps that you see. 351 camps, if I'm not mistaken.
I do not recall any incident in India that after any riot or conflict, some near about 60,000 people, 58,000 people living in relief camps for 2 years, and there is no sign of that they could actually go back to their homes anytime soon. The government had fixed a deadline of December this year to send them back home, but I don't think that's going to happen because less than 1 month left to that. Plus, if you remember, the government also in Imphal Valley, to showcase normalcy, they organized that Sangai festival, and the relief camp people are very rightly ask a question: if you think that it is so normal that you can organize a festival, why can't we go home back? If normalcy means this, if there is a festival can be organized, but we can't go back home, how these two things can exist together?
And describe the camps that are there. There are 351 of them. How are they living? I mean, these people were well-to-do before they landed up in these camps.
I met many people who had business, who had agricultural land, who had jobs. Their house burned down. Entire family, they are living in cubicles. Could be 6 feet away. 5, 6 people are living there together, and not for a month, for last 2 years, surviving on 80 rupees a day for individuals, and some camps get rations, some do not. Then there are complaints about irregularities of supply to these camps. So it's unbelievable. And think of the children. There are children who have who were born after the riot, after the conflict, so they haven't seen a normal life. Then many children, they are going back to government schools. Many
but there must be a lot of psychological issues.
Psychological, as I wrote in the story, that psychological trauma, the Manipur Child Welfare Commission chairperson, he also told me that psychological trauma is immense and it will take years and years to recover. Then suicides are happening in relief camps. Young and adult, they are committing suicide. So it's an unbelievable thing, and I don't think there is any parallel in independent India of so many people displaced and still living in relief camps after so many years.
And the fact is that their rehabilitation plans have really not worked, right? Yeah. They were supposed to by December 2025, which is a month, just a week away, or less than 2 days, 3 days away as we speak, they were supposed to have got all of them out of these camps into proper rehabilitation or other centers. Am I right? Is that was the plan?
Yes, that was the plan. But imagine if even a commercial vehicle driven by a Meitei cannot go to a Kuki area, or vice versa, then how can you imagine this 50,000 people getting resettled back to their own land without the peace coming back, or without both sides agreeing to peace? I don't think that's happening anytime soon. By force, the government may try to do that, but it's not going to happen, at least what I saw on the ground.
Kaushik, we've discussed the issue of displaced persons, and of course, trauma is the new geography that is happening in Manipur. But let's look at another big aspect, which is the economy. And clearly, this divide must have caused a collapse of some kind if you're not able to move freely up and down. Describe what really has happened in terms of the economy of Manipur.
It's very sad. In 2022, just before the violence, I was in Manipur, and I could see Manipur opening up till 10:30, 11 at night. There is a bustling nightlife, restaurants were there. And Manipur, after a long time, it was on the path of prosperity. Suddenly everything collapsed. Then you saw big ticket events, beauty pageants, and other big festival happening in Manipur. But all this, now it's collapsed. Tourism increased a lot, but I believe it is now 80% down. And agriculture is a big sufferer. The farmers are big sufferers in this whole game, because a lot of agricultural land, that they fall in the foothills. So where Meiteis and Kukis, they both cultivate. So now those things are in so-called buffer zone. Then a lot of people, farmers, well-to-do farmers, they have left their land either in Meitei areas or in Kuki areas. Then a lot of shopkeepers, they had to leave their house. I met one person from More who had owned the biggest electronic shop in that region. and he had a thriving business, and overnight everything was burned down. So collectively, like Manipur was a very good GST performer in terms of growth. So all these things are happening, and now suddenly everything is in standstill. As I mentioned,
even these small businesses,
Yes.
they are not able to do business because I think the Meiteis used to go to Myanmar border to
Yes.
do business. The
Yes, sir.
Cookies used to try and
Yeah.
do other kinds of business within the Imphal area. That's
So you can't move freely if you have to find another person to drive your commercial vehicle. So all these things are adding to this what we can call stalemate, and the way Manipur used to export vegetable outside India, Manipur's black rice, it's coming back gradually, but still miles to go. And very sad that unless and until this 58,000 people, they get back to their home, and people feel a sense of normalcy in real sense, where they can go back to their own business from running a shop. As I met one person who were the good nice grocery shop. There was a weekly market where cookies and meiteis in Imphal West, cookies and meiteis will get together every Wednesday, I believe, and they used to trade lakhs of lakhs of rupees trade from vegetable to groceries to everything. And now it's a barren land. There is nothing except a CRPF camp guarding it.
So we have a social divide, we have an economic collapse. Let's look at the political impasse. Just I think in February, after almost 2 years, the government imposed president's rule, and Viren Singh had to cool his heels at that point. Why has this political dialogue failed? What's the real problem? Because you have a very powerful central government who could have intervened at any point, but we had Prime Minister Modi come only recently, and that too for a whistle stop rather than a prolonged interaction with them. You've had the RSS chief, Mohan Bhagwat, also come over there, but we don't see any movement forward. There doesn't seem a resolution inside. What really happened?
So you have to go back to Manipur's history. This Kuki Meitei friction is not a thing of 2023 only, but 2023 the world got to know in such a massive scale.
Right.
But the basic demand of cookies after this 2023 violence is that they need a separate administration in Union Territory with legislature, which is, I don't think central government is agreeing to that, and the Meitei side also will not agree.
So the cookies right now, the political impasse is the cookies want a separate Union Territory
administration, Union Territory with legislature.
All right.
Which the central government is not agreeing to, Meitei side is also not agreeing to, because if you look at Manipur's legislative structure, 40 seats are in Meitei area, so no central government will agree to that, and Meitei side will also react very violently to such a demand. And Meitei side, they want NRC, they claim that a lot of cookies are illegal immigrants, poppy cultivation,
National Register
of Citizenship, the way it happened in Assam, because they claim that a lot of cookies are illegal immigrants. So all these things are very sensitive issues where both sides have to come to a conclusion and to kind of agreement, which is very difficult. But at the same time, you need constant dialogue, which I do not see happening. For instance, one Kuki BJP MLA, he told me that he hasn't been able to meet the Prime Minister and the Home Minister, Union Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, and Prime Minister Modi since 2023, which is very surprising. So even when Prime Minister Modi visited Imphal and Churachandpur, as far as my knowledge, he didn't meet any of the local political leaders from Meitei side or Kuki side, BJP leaders. So which is again very surprising. So
the BJP has the majority there.
Yes.
And they are both Meitei and Kuki MLAs.
Yes,
and they're not talking to each other.
They are not talking, because Kuki MLAs even cannot come to, forget about normal people, Kuki MLAs also cannot come to Imphal. So
and many of the houses got burnt in the riots, isn't it?
Yes. So that's how the divide is. That's how the big divide is. So because of that, you need a seasoned interlocutor who would understand the background, not of 2023, and then gradually can bring the both sides together. So the center is doing incremental things. Like Mohan Bhagwat goes and talks about, though he is not a representative of the center, he talks about Hindu survival. Of course,
is that a communal issue in some senses? The cookies are
Yeah, that part is there,
Not
but
predominantly,
that
they are
part-
predominantly Christian,
Christians
and
and
the
Meiteis
Meiteis
are
are predominantly
Hindus.
Hindus.
But the conflict is not because of religion.
Right.
But of course, religion becomes a part later. So the moment Mohan Bhagwat says that, oh, Hindu survival is the very important thing in India. So obviously cookies would try to read it in a different way,
Right.
and he didn't visit the cookie areas. Similarly, in September the government signed a peace deal, ceasefire agreement with the Kuki militant groups, which is a red flag for the Meitei sides. So the government is doing incremental stuff, but there is no coherence between the two.
Before we come to the final part of this, which is what needs to be done, one piece of the puzzle is Nagas actually form quite a substantial, not in terms of geographical area, substantial, probably as much as what the cookies have, probably a little more.
Around 28%.
28%, and also in terms of population.
Yeah.
And yet, they are not, they also tribes, and the Meiteis can't go and buy land. They also scheduled areas and scheduled tribe areas. Why haven't they joined this conflict, and why do they seem to be fine with what's happening? I'm not fine, meaning they're not, fighting with the Meiteis on this matter.
To put it in a very crude way, Meiteis and Kukis, neither side is Naga's friend in the past. They have been friends in the past. So if two sides are fighting, they have little stake in this fight, because the geographical conflict over land resources which are happening at the moment is in Kuki and Meitei foothills. Also, to give some credit to Biren Singh is that he to a great extent created a kind of bridge between Naga population and Meitei population during his tenure. He was
But he failed to build the bridge with the Kuki
with
population.
the Kukis. In fact, there is a past and violent history between Kukis and Nagas also.
Right.
So the same way the Meiteis and Nagas have a conflict.
They are also contesting land and
Yes,
identity rights.
Yes, sir. So because of that, Nagas saw that there is no stake in this conflict, though they also opposed the initial High Court directive saying that ST status should be given to the Meiteis. They opposed it, but they didn't come to the street because they also they have been part of this government. That NPF was part of Biren Singh's government,
Right.
and Biren Singh actually has built a rapport with the Naga leadership. He was the first CM in a long time to go to Ukhrul and get a welcome. Usually whenever Manipur CM used to visit Naga areas, there used to be a boycott.
Right.
And one big advantage that Nagas got, means outcome of this whole conflict between Kukis and Meiteis, NSCN leader Muiva, he could never go back to his Isaac Muiva, he could never go back to his homeland Manipur where he was born, and always Meiteis protested. There was protest in Manipur. This time he was given a welcome. He could spend good time in Manipur. So this is another
the irony of it
all.
But of course, there's a historical basis. The British also played a role, the whole business of having buffer tribes, and that's the conflict. But that's a vastly different thing. We are now coming contemporary. 3 or 4 things that you think the government should do immediately, central government obviously, that can start the thaw process, that can begin the march towards resolution.
The first thing that the government needs to do is demilitarization. What I mean by that is that all the looted weapons. Now, anyone can question that if it is within India, constitutionally guarded, why can't a person, why can't the government, central or state, whichever government, cannot provide that protection to a citizen to move freely within the state? What stops them? Because there are 80,000 security forces in Manipur. The answer is that because there are lots of illegal weapons and weapons looted during the 6,000 weapons looted. Some of them have come back. Still are there in the hands of civilians and so-called groups, some militant groups also. So unless and until you demilitarize Manipur and ensure that peace, that security, sense of security, peace cannot come back. So that's the very basic the government must do before anything, before they move into dialogue process. So part of that would be opening up NH2, that there is a free movement. So once that environment is created, once that discussion, dialogue between normal Kuki, normal Meitei people begin and their trade relationship begin, which they cannot survive without each other. I think the whole forces, all the other forces that are trying to resist that resolution will have to take a back seat. So, I think the first and foremost, all the peace process, dialogue can continue, but you have to ensure that there is actual security, sense of security for each individual, whether he belongs to Meitei or Kuki, on the ground. And
also, the point you mentioned, you need an honest broker, because right now
Yeah.
the Kukis are suspicious of the Meiteis because they have the political dominance, and since the BJP
Yeah.
has so far, the party,
Yeah.
not necessarily the Modi government,
Yeah.
seems to have sided with the Meiteis, there is a sense that, hey, we are not getting a fair deal on this. I think that is very important, that you said you had to get a...
it's very difficult to say the party is siding with Meiteis, a party is siding with
Right.
Kukis. Depending on their political requirements, they side with both sides. Because if you remember long back, in fact, we did a story in India Today, Assam CM Himanta Biswa Sarma had made certain deals with Kuki Sioux groups. So, they have their resources in Kuki areas also, the central government, they have their resources in Meitei areas also. The thing is that whosoever is doing this peace handling, they need to build trust within groups, within both groups, which is not happening because a lot of it is also kind of, I can go on and on, this violence and armed struggle, all these things are also kind of cottage industry in Northeast.
Right.
So, there is a need of an honest understanding of the problem, going to the ground, and then an honest effort to resolve that, not just certain symbolic visits. And here I am not blaming one particular party or one particular government. It has been historical. So, that is why the trust, you cannot build the trust overnight.
Right. And so it's an intractable thing, but thank you, Kaushik, for these insights that are there. And do read Kaushik Deka's cover story on this, has far greater insights, far more maps that explain the entire problem and how to resolve this.
I must
yes.
add one thing, that for this whole cover story, I must give credit to Mr. Chengappa, because many people may think because I come from that area, I went and did that story. Of course, I did, but he was the one who actually pointed out that we should do a story on Manipur, and for me, it was like, let's put it on the pages, but he insisted that it has to go as a cover. So, the credit
let's be very clear.
goes to him.
The feeling is mutual, because we have the top expert on Northeast with Kaushik Deka, and therefore he's done a tremendous job on this, and I hope that brings a lot more clarity. But let's also be clear, when we discuss Manipur, the absence of gunfire is not peace. I mean, the government could claim that, look, there's no violence happening, but this is an uneasy peace. It is a frozen war, and India cannot allow one of its states to remain trapped in this twilight zone forever. A solution, as Kaushik Deka says, needs to be found fast and has to be fair. Thank you very much for being with me on this episode of Nothing But the Truth. I look forward to having you with me next week. Nothing But the Truth.